They told me they could replace me with 3 rookies for half my salary. That I was just another number on a budget sheet, not the man who kept their system running for 18 years. They cut me loose on a Monday morning, told me it was nothing personal, just cost-cutting. But they didn't know I was the only one who understood every line of code, every hidden backup, every security layer I'd built with my own 2 hands. 2 weeks later, their entire system crashed. Payments failed, tenants were angry, their biggest client threatened to walk. They offered me $500 an hour, begged me to come back. You want to know what I said? I said nothing. I let them learn what it costs to lose a man who knows what he's worth. Stick around. Let me tell you how I turned their betrayal into my quiet revenge. They fired me on a Monday morning, told me I was too expensive, that they could get 3 young engineers for the price of 1 old man like me. They said it was nothing personal, just cost-cutting. My name is Jack Tiller. I'm 62 years old. I spent 18 years building every system that kept that company running. Payment processing, security layers, data backups, piece by piece, year by year. I was there when we had just 4 properties. I was there when we grew to 60 across 5 states. I worked weekends, missed family dinners, stayed late to fix server crashes before tenants even noticed something was wrong. And in the end, all they saw was a $sign next to my name. I packed up my life into a cardboard box that morning. It weighed about 20 pounds, but it felt heavier when I carried it across the parking lot. My old Ford truck was waiting, the paint peeling under the Texas sun. As I turned the ignition, my phone buzzed. A message from Tom, one of the junior techs. He just said, "Jack, they're lost without you." I didn't reply, because sometimes the best thing you can do is stay silent and let them learn exactly what your worth really meant. I spent that first week in my small workshop behind the house, sorting through old manuals and boxes of cables I hadn't touched in years. Lillian, my wife, would bring me coffee, watching me quietly, knowing I wasn't ready to talk. The phone kept ringing. First it was Tom again, then it was Linda from HR trying to check in. Then Peter, the new CTO, left a message. "Jack, the payment system is failing and the maintenance requests won't process. The junior team is struggling." They were offering me $300 an hour to come back. Just for a few days, they said. Then it became 400, then 500. Every time my phone buzzed, I let it go to voicemail. Because they didn't understand what I had built. They didn't understand that you can't just swap in a few 20-somethings for someone who knows the system inside out, who can spot a failing server just by the way the logs shift, who knows exactly which backup file to check when a payment process stalls. Lillian asked me one evening, "Are you going to help them?" I took a sip of my coffee, looking out over the backyard where the old oak trees swayed in the warm Texas wind. "No," I said, "not this time." Because sometimes letting them fail is the only way they'll ever learn what they threw away. 2 weeks passed before the first real crack showed. It was a Tuesday morning when Tom texted me again. "Jack, the whole system is down. Payments, maintenance, tenant logins, everything." I didn't reply. I went out back to fix the hinge on the old shed door, the one that's been squeaking every time the Texas wind blows. I could hear the wind rustling the oak leaves as I worked, the world moving on just fine without the panic that was consuming them. That afternoon, Peter finally called himself. His voice wasn't as sharp as the day he fired me. "Jack, we need your help. We're losing tenant payments and our biggest client is threatening to leave if we can't fix this. We'll pay you whatever you want." I listened. I let him finish. Then I said, "Peter, I gave you 18 years of my life. You thought you could replace that with 3 kids fresh out of college and a few off-the-shelf software licenses. You thought I was too expensive. Now you're finding out what expensive really means." There was a long silence on the line, and I hung up. Because it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about respect. And sometimes the only way to teach them is to let the lesson cost them more than they ever imagined. A few days later, I got a call from Robert Mason. He runs Mason Property Group, one of the biggest clients my old company had. We'd shared coffee at conferences, swapped stories about grandkids and fishing trips in Montana. His voice was calm, but I could hear the frustration. "Jack, I don't know what's going on over there, but our tenants can't pay rent and maintenance requests are piling up. I've been with them for 10 years, but I can't keep dealing with this." I listened quietly, then Robert said, "Look, I heard you're not with them anymore. If you ever think about building something new, something that actually works, call me." I told him I'd think about it. That night, as I sat on the porch with Lillian, watching the sun dip below the oak trees, she turned to me and said, "You're not done, are you?" I shook my head. "No, I'm not." Because I realized then, revenge wasn't about watching them fail. It was about proving what happens when you build things right, when you care enough to do the job well, even if no one notices until you're gone. And I was ready to build something better for people who respected the work and the man who did it. A week later, I drove down to the small office Robert Mason had in Dallas. He didn't want a fancy pitch or a slideshow. He wanted to know if I could build him a system that wouldn't fail, that wouldn't leave tenants stranded or payments lost every time someone tried to save a buck. We sat across from each other with black coffee, no sugar, no cream, just the way I like it. "I don't care if it takes 12 weeks or 12 months, Robert said. "I want it done right." And I looked him in the eye and said, "Then I'm your man." That's how it started. One server at a time, one line of code at a time, documenting everything. Training every tech we hired, making sure no one would ever be left guessing when a system hiccuped at 2 in the morning. The calls from my old company kept coming, but I let them go to voicemail. Because the work I was doing now mattered, and the people I was doing it for respected it. And when Robert's system went live, handling thousands of units without a glitch, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not revenge, not triumph, just peace. Because sometimes the best revenge is building something better and walking away from the people who couldn't see your worth until it was too late. I learned something in all this. Sometimes walking away is the loudest message you can send. You don't need to fight. You don't need to shout. You just need to build something better with your own 2 hands and let your work speak when words can't. And for the first time in a long time, I could breathe. Tell me, friend, have you ever been underestimated only to prove them wrong by living well? Share your story below. I'd like to hear it.